toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well.
That sounds like a party.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally
Hi, Mom.
as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Welcome to the Pentultimate Show.
Pentultimate.
Well, actually, that's not really right. See, usually, like if you're watching a like a TV series, right, and it's in its final season, and then the show before the finale is the Pentultimate Show. That's the only reason I know that, because I learned it watching TV. But this is the show before the big anniversary show.
The show before
so that's
the
why
show.
It feels Pentultimate, but we're not ending at the anniversary. We'll keep going.
It's just a show before a real big deal.
That's right. So we'll call it the Real Big Deal
It's
show.
going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. Today's show is, of course, as we always do, going to be discussing craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
I love those things.
My name is Cruz. My co-host is Ian Barry. Welcome to the show. And we want to say big thanks, by the way, to last week's special guests who, interestingly enough, one of which we had just gotten an email requesting, hey, how come you don't have him on more? And that was Mr. Alan Denning. So, Alan, it was fun having you on the show. Thanks for the beers that you brought. And, of course, Roberto Rivas Villar, who sat in. And we did last week's show. If you missed it, you got to go back and listen to the podcast, because we did something where, I mean, we took this on so you don't have to.
That's right.
It was the bottom shelf bourbon blind taste test. And interestingly enough, there were a couple in there that were really pretty good.
Yeah, so it's funny how that turned out, because like you expect, one of the criteria was no bottle over $15.
Over 15, yeah, right.
And a few of those bottles were actually pretty darn good whiskey.
Yeah, and they weren't even necessarily the ones that were right at the $15 mark. I think
that's right.
One of the ones we liked best was like $9.
$9,
yeah. So,
and funny enough, you'd expect us to hate. There was some really bad ones in there.
There were.
Most of them were lack of flavor more than anything.
Right. Not any. There were not many. Maybe one or two that I just didn't like.
Yeah, there was one of them that tasted a lot like those little pebble stones that everyone puts around their pool and they get wet and slippery.
I don't know.
Tasted a lot like that.
I don't know what one of those tastes like. But I can only imagine. But I don't believe I could actually. It has a note of rock. I don't know. How would you say? Fused with a stone note.
Chlorine infused pebble walkway.
That's right. I get it, though. I know what you're getting at. Well, in any case, we want to thank those guys for coming and doing the blind taste test with us last week.
Oh, they were a blast.
Now, next week is our big anniversary show. It's show number 333 for Smokin' and Toastin', and it is going to be, we're just celebrating it as our second big anniversary show. We'll be live at a location in downtown Houston, and we'll be out on a balcony unless it's rain. Currently, the forecast is no rain but hot, so we might get a little sweaty, but we'll enjoy smoking cigars, drinking. We've asked every single guest who's ever been on the program is invited to come, bring bottles or cans or cigars or whatever they want to bring. We all pass around and share, and we all enjoy each other's company and talk about what's going on in the industry, talk about what our favorite things are, talk about what we're tasting. It's kind of a free-for-all, to be totally honest with you. And so next week's show, for those who hear us on broadcast radio, you'll have your normal 2-hour show. Those of you who are with us in podcast world or watch the video, there will be a bonus segment once the 2-hour radio show portion of it is over.
And that bonus segment will be exactly as long as we keep talking.
Exactly. And that can be a long time, as most of you probably know. So we have a really interesting show for you today. We're going to talk about summer beers. We have a list of some exciting summer beers. We're going to be tasting at least one really good summer beer. And our show beer today, we call it show beer, which is the one that we open and drink, that we're not necessarily, it's not necessarily being featured on the show. It's just something we're drinking as we get started on the show, because it usually takes us until several segments in till we start the tasting, and God knows we can't go that long without a beer. So today's show beer is Summer Pils from St. Arnold's, which is a wonderful summer beer.
I love their character. Anytime you see a St. Arnold, if you're ever in the Houston or Texas area, because you'll find it pretty much regionally around Dallas, even Austin, those areas.
Yeah, you can find it all over Texas. Yeah.
They have the patron saint of brewers, Saint
Which
Arnold.
is Saint Arnold,
and,
yeah.
And they have a little story. As Bishop of Metz, Saint Arnold spent his life warning of the dangers of drinking water and extolling the virtues of beer. During his funeral,
my kind of saint.
his pallbearers stopped to quench their thirst, but they only had one mug to share among them. Then a miracle happened. The mug never ran dry, and all mourners were satisfied.
This is a dude you want to party with, right? It's like, the beers just keep on coming. I love it. St. Arnold, thank you, sir.
Oh, man.
And thank you to the St. Arnold Brewery. They're one of my all-time favorites, not just because they're local. When I moved away from Houston, for a number of years and lived up in the Northeast, St. Arnold was one of the things I missed the most.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
They're one of our core beers down here. That's just like always
sure.
a go-to.
And we're going to have one of their beers on our tasting today. I'll get to that in a moment. But in addition to our show beer, we'll be doing some interesting tasting from Brooklyn Brewery in, oddly enough, Brooklyn, New York. We'll be tasting their summer ale. It's a Sunny Pale Ale, and it is
I don't think
just
I've tried
released
their
for the
summer ale,
summer.
but Brooklyn
And,
makes great stuff.
Yeah, they make really, really good ales. And then Jolly Pumpkin Artisan Ales, known far and wide for their wild ales and their farmhouse ales, but we'll be trying a golden ale. It is their Oro Wild Artisan Golden Ale. They're based out of
Jolly
Michigan.
Pumpkin's great.
And then I mentioned St. Arnold. We'll be trying something I have not tasted yet. I'm very excited about this. I've been saving this to bring it on the show. The St. Arnold Tarnation. It is an unreasonably strong ale.
Yes,
At least
it
that's
is.
how you had it.
Yes,
I'm guessing.
yeah.
I had a feeling
Come
you
on,
might
if
have.
St. Arnold comes out with
Yeah.
it, I'm buying a 6-pack sight unseen.
I had a feeling you might have had that actually,
Yeah.
but we'll be tasting it officially on the show, and I haven't had it yet, so I'm very excited about this. We'll also be tasting some rum, an El Dorado 12-year-old rum, and this is the bottle here, Ian. And I've not done my
it's
usual.
a pretty bottle.
I've not done my usual clearing of the neck and taking off of the.
Oh my goodness!
So I want to warn you to be
I'll be especially careful
when you open.
Now,
that
normally,
today.
what he's talking about for those of you just joining us, what he's talking about is, generally speaking, whenever Cruz brings in a bottle of spirits, he's already taken the top off. You know, the plastic or
overwrap,
the foil.
yes.
In the case of this, and then
because
usually,
you can get a nasty paper cut or
he
plastic
usually will
cut.
clear the neck down just a little bit, and I think that's to avoid spills.
That's
and keep
right.
up with OSHA compliance.
Exactly.
So.
I'm glad you understand the real reason
I
for
do
this.
understand that.
All right. So we'll be getting to that as well on the program. And we're going to be bringing you a special edition of everybody's favorite segment. It's Drinking News. On today's Drinking News teaser headline, here it is. I once was lost, but now I'm found. How many teaser headlines have their own little musical riff?
musical
I like
sting?
that. Yeah, I like that. It totally works. So we'll look forward to drinking news on the program. And, of course, we're going to talk a lot about summer beers. We're also going to talk about the best whiskeys
Summer
of
beers
2023.
Make me feel fine. No, what? I'm sorry, what?
The
I know that's your favorite
I really
song.
hate that song. I really do. It's like the worst.
You're welcome. Now it's stuck in your head.
Oh, I know. For the rest of the day. I hate you. I really hate you. We'll also be talking about the best whiskeys of 2023 so far, according to a very important list. But first, we have to get to our very important mystery beverage, and Ian has brought it in today.
I did.
I actually had one ready to go, and you walked in and said, I got a
mystery beverage for
Okay,
you.
so and this one is a beer. I can tell by looking at it.
It is a beer.
So mystery beverage is what we do from time to time on the show where at least one of us doesn't know what it is we're tasting.
So I'm bringing you, actually, as a mystery beverage, I'm bringing you one of my go-tos.
So that's encouraging because I worry when you bring the mystery beverage. I worry that you're malorting me. Yeah, because Ian brought malort on the show the first time and got me.
That's
and that
funny.
was all well and good.
That's really
but when
funny.
he did it the second time,
Oh, it was funnier.
that was yeah. It was funny.
really
all right.
funnier.
All right, but if this is one of your go-tos, I'm guessing this isn't going to be bad.
Well, I mean, I don't think so. Like, what do you think? What are you getting on the nose? Like, what are you thinking?
Dates and just kind of a heavy caramel.
There's also a lot of fruit, I guess.
Yeah, it is very fruity. I mean, that's what I meant when I said dates, but yeah, it's definitely dark fruit.
Yeah, much fruit going on in this thing. I can't
Mas
wait till you try a
frutas.
sip. Here we go. Drum roll, please. And is he disappointed?
Not at all. Although I get much more like a cocoa vibe, sort of a chocolate vibe on the palate.
There is a strange bit of chocolatiness in there. This is one.
A little bit of coffee, a little bit of chocolate, and the dark fruits that you mentioned. And what are we tasting here, my friend?
This is the Real Ale Brewing Company Black Quadruple Ale. A Trappist
So this is a quadruple. I would not have guessed.
Delicious dark side is what it says.
I would not have guessed. I would guess it to be maybe, although it doesn't quite have a stout's mouthfeel, I would have guessed it to be something more like a stout, just because of the chocolate and coffee notes.
This is so drinkable. You're talking about summer beers. This is something I drink in the summer.
What is the ABV on this?
Well, it's. Do you really want to know?
Yeah, I do.
10.5.
Holy moly! That may be more than the Tarnation Strong Ale, which I think is around 9.
You can get it in this handy dandy 1 pint can delivery system.
Of course, because you don't want to open that up and just have a little bit. You want to. You want to.
I mean, you may only have 3 beers, but you know.
I'm going to a family reunion, and we're going to be floating down the river on inner tubes. Later
bring
this
these.
Summer. This seems perfect for inner tube floating.
Bring these.
Oh man.
So Real Ale, they're so funny. They used to only have this in the bombers. And now they have them in these cans, which are brilliant. It's a 1 pint can, 1 pint, 1 pint and 3.2 fluid ounces can. So it's taller than a tall boy, and it costs like $3 or $4.
And Real Ale is,
and it's fantastic.
They're out of the Texas Hill Country, right?
Yeah, they're just outside of San Antonio, Blanco, Texas.
Yep, I've been there.
So and there's not a whole lot of information about this on the can. They just have this dark-looking monk with a glass of beer in his hand, and it comes in at 10.5%.
It's really, honestly, Ian, it's quite good.
It's real good, isn't it?
It's quite good. Like the more I sip on this, the better I like it.
It's one of those you see in the single can section, and I think a lot of people would overlook it because it just.
What's a can of that cost? Do you remember?
I think it's less than $4. I think it's like $3.95 or something like that.
That's impressive
for a can of this, and it's outstanding. It's so good.
The size of that can is really interesting.
Might be $5 if I'm really outside.
It's really interesting. The size of that can is something that has become.
Had $1 for every time I heard that.
It's something that's become a big deal. The 19.2 ounce craft beer cans.
Yeah.
Sales of these are surging, they say, at convenience stores. So you may have walked in and seen like a big Lagunitas or a Voodoo Ranger or maybe something from
you can buy Shiner like this. You can buy
from Shiner, right? And what's the Sierra Nevada stuff is available by there. Apparently, these things are selling like crazy. Now, I don't mind having one of these out of this size can if I'm someplace where I've got like a cold glass I can pour it into and enjoy it, not let it get warm. But one of the things I'm not crazy about is they're selling them these size now at concerts. And by the time I get to the end of that can, my beer is not nearly as cold as I want my beer to be.
Okay, there's 2 things you need to do when you go to a concert that selling these kind of cans. First thing is, 1, bring a koozie.
Right.
Okay, all you up
smart.
north that are listening to this, koozies are these devices that you put on your can that keep the can cold and insulated from your hands.
Right.
So it's an insulation device. Now, you might think to yourself, well, if you live in Michigan, for instance, why would I need to keep my can cold? Well, it does this other thing, too. When you're standing out in the cold, it keeps your hand from getting so cold because you're holding onto a cold can.
Exactly. It's a much warmer thing to hold.
So it actually does a few different things. It's quite an awesome thing. But here's the thing. When you drink something like this Black Quad and you get down towards the end of the can and it's a little warm, it still tastes delicious.
Well, and for this, I totally get that.
Yeah.
But like if I'm drinking like an IPA or like a St. Arnold Love Street, which is one they have a lot at shows, I don't want that warm.
I was a little disappointed. I went to House of Blues the other night and watched a great band. And I went up there and I was excited because they always have Dale's Pale Ale in these cans.
Hold that thought. We'll be back after this. It's Smoking and Toasting.
Has it gone by that fast?
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasted. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we were talking about craft beer in the 19.2-ounce cans, like the one that Ian brought for our mystery beer today, and how they're selling like crazy at convenience stores. The one thing I wanted to mention is that the biggest sellers in this have a tendency to be the higher ABV IPAs, the Imperials and the Doubles,
Oh, really?
and things like that. That's what seems to be selling the best,
That's
according to
bang
the
for
article
the
I
buck
read.
right there.
You were mentioning being at a House of Blues show and having the big
So
cans,
yeah,
right?
because they always have Dale's Pale Ale there.
Yes.
They did not have Dale's Pale Ale there.
Oh.
I was like, because if you're gonna pay $13 for a beer, I mean, it might as well be a decent beer, right? Well, they had Shiner, so that was okay. So I drank Shiner all night, but
Shiner saves the day. For those of us here in Texas that go into a restaurant or a bar where the beverage manager is lazy or owned by AB InBev,
yes,
Shiner is the day saver. When I lived up in New England, it would be Sam Adams.
Yeah.
That would be the day saver because you could find it just about everywhere. But so thank you, St. Arnold. Thank you, Shiner.
yeah.
Thank
No,
you, Sam
when I
Adams.
looked at the beers, they always have the cans sitting up there. They had crap, they had crap, they had crap light, they had crap light, they had crap ultra light, and they had crap, and then they had Shiner. So.
Yeah.
I went with Shiner.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. So I was wondering, we didn't have a chance to get to this in the first segment, but have you had the opportunity to smoke anything interesting
I did,
this week?
actually. So I bought a cigar again today because I went by Casa, and last week I went by Casa, and I picked out a cigar to do the review on, and I was going to go sit down and smoke it and do the review on it, but then Steve over there talked me into an $18
cigar.
And it was outrageously good, so that's okay too. But
yeah.
Anyway, so I picked up another one today. I still have the other one in my humidor, but I haven't smoked it yet. But I picked up another one today because I was like, that's the one I had last week I was going to do. It's the Herrera Esteli Miami.
Oh, yes. I've seen this.
Man. So this is a Lonsdale this is the Lonsdale's Deluxe is what I picked up, 6x44. And the Lonsdales are nice. It's what they call Panatella or Lonsdale's, the long, skinny cigar. It had an Ecuadorian Habano Oscuro wrapper, very dark and rich looking. Ecuador Sumatra binder and Dominican Republic and Nicaragua filler. The appearance on his rich dark chocolate in color, two tastefully understated bands. One of them is the Herrera Esteli, and then the other one was the Miami band. Medium firmness overall, slightly lumpy, very oily and toothy kind of wrapper. Love that right off the bat. The pre-light sniff on this, I got not a lot of things, but I got barnyard, rich fermented hay, and some tea leaf on it. The pre-light draw, I used a punch, had a medium draw to it. Rich coffee and sweet creamy mocha is what I was getting out of that. The initial light, bitter coffee and earth, pepper, and a kiss of cayenne on the back of the palate. Retrohale is strong pepper and cedar. The retrohale will make your eyes water a little bit if you're not used to it on this one. So be gentle with that if you pick up one of these. The first third of this, leather and cedar, nutty and spicy, underlying sweet dark fruit, pervasive spicy notes throughout, medium strength with cool, flavorful smoke. Retrohale spicy and nutty with cedar, flaky ash, and questionable burn. It had a little funky burn at the beginning.
That's not good with the Panatella.
The second third of this, sweet nutty flavors blossom here and include notes of peanut, macadamia, and cashew. Dark fruit, cedar, and leather create the next layer over top of a spicy foundation. The retrohale is spicy pepper, cedar, and nutty. Flaky ash, perfect burn. It had corrected itself and become perfect. The last third of this cigar, spicy notes toned down a bit here, and a toast and mocha note appear. Leather and sweet nuttiness weave in and out. Retrohale, sweet mocha and cedar, flaky ash, perfect burn. Price to quality on this at $12.50. I give it a solid 5. Great smoke, complex flavors.
$12.50 is a lot for a Panatella, but you say it was worth it. All right, that sounds good. I'll tell you what I smoked this week. Plus, we'll get into some of the interesting things that we want to tell you about craft beers and why this week's. I'm looking at last week's show notes. It says blind taste test. No. We're going to be talking about summer beers and the best whiskeys of 2023 so far. We'll be right back. Ooh, nice. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're heard all over America on great radio stations like News Talk 1520 in Abilene, Texas. I know I recognized them last week, but I think they might be our only affiliate so far, so they get recognized a lot. And I think it's 1560. I think I misspoke. So anyway, but we welcome to them. Welcome you, Abilene listeners, and we'd love to hear from you on our email chat line, and that is st@rfcmedia.com. The email, once again, st@rfcmedia.com.
st@rfcmedia.com.
You can send us questions about things we've tasted. You can send us questions about anything we haven't tasted. You can send us, questions about, relationship advice. Whatever it is you need, we'll help. We're here. We're here to help. We're here for you. Medical recommendations, whatever it is. Stock picks. We got you. So
if it wasn't for you, we'd just be sitting around drinking.
Yeah, and with stock picks, could we just randomly pick one and do any worse than Jim Cramer? I'm just asking, just asking. So I want to tell you about the cigar that I had this week. And several weeks ago, you may remember, I talked about smoking an old standby that I hadn't had in a while, the Nica Libre Torpedo. Mm-hmm. Nica Libre's core line was
I've been a fan of those for years.
Blended by A.J. Fernandez back in the day. And it is quite honestly one of, if not the best, budget-friendly cigars that you can buy, because you don't feel like you're taking a step down in quality at all. It definitely punches up there with the big boys. So when I was ordering those cigars, I noticed that Nica Libre had been busy since the last time I checked them out. They've added new blends, one by the fine tobacconist at Aganor Salif, and another by a little cigar-making outfit that you may have heard of named Oliva.
What do they know?
Yeah.
Oh, they're one of my favorites.
I remember promising you guys that I would check them out for you and report back. So today I want to talk about the Nica Libre by Oliva. The blend comes in 4 sizes. I picked the Toro. It's a 6-inch stick with a 48 ring gauge, which is my absolute sweet spot for the size of a cigar. That's if I could pick any size, that's the size I would like. I love the Bella Artes that used to be available in this size, which I can't seem to find anymore. That was my go-to smoke for ages. I can still find Bella Artes, just not in that size.
Yeah.
The cigar itself, absolutely gorgeous. It's severely box-pressed. It's draped in an oily, dark brown Nicaraguan Habano sun-grown wrapper. The binder and filler are all Nicaraguan and all Ligero, which is a much stronger, it's the top. Ligero comes from the top leaves of the tobacco plant, which get the most sun and have a tendency to be the strongest, right? It's all Ligero, so I was expecting a pretty powerful punch from this one. The pre-light
nice
sniff.
alliteration, by the way.
Pre-light sniff didn't give away any secrets about how strong the Nica Libre by Oliva was going to be. Instead, it wowed me with a serious fix of dark chocolate.
So the Nica Libre is known for its chocolatiness. Mm-hmm. It is a chocolate bomb.
This is even more of a bomb, an even bigger chocolate bomb.
It's been described as like a candy bar from so many people.
There were a few other notes I picked up on the pre-light sniff and the cold draw, like earth and tea leaf, but did I mention dark chocolate? Because there was serious dark chocolate. I used a punch cutter, I lit up the Nica Libre Oliva, and I was greeted by the return of an old friend, the Nicaraguan Pepper Blast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or the NPB. Hey, NPB.
NPB.
I have missed you. It's been a while. The dark chocolate note paired up with a nice earthiness, and once the pepper blast settled down, the pepper was clearly still there, but was mostly on the finish. It gave me a nice tang on the tongue and the palate, let me know this was a cigar that was serious about being full-bodied, but it didn't overpower the other flavor notes. Burn was nice and consistent, even straightening itself out after what looked like it might have been the beginning of a canoe. I looked and thought, oh no, here we go. Totally straightened itself out, which was great. And I didn't touch the cigar up even once the whole time that I smoked it, which was awesome. Second, third brought a creamy coffee note into the mix, but still plenty of dark chocolate and still black pepper on the finish and on the retrohale. And as if the blend could get any more ridiculously delicious, a caramel note started to work its way in. So seriously, by the final third, a cedar note made its presence known. The dark chocolate and caramel continued. And I was pleasantly surprised at how balanced the black pepper note continued to be. Ever present, especially on the finish, but not overwhelming. Now, that said, this is a little monster of a cigar. It really is. By the time it was done, I'd put it at medium to full, maybe leaning slightly more towards full-bodied. It's much fuller than it looks. But this wasn't a cigar where strength was the only characteristic. The Nica Libre by Oliva is incredibly well balanced. It never allowed the pepper to just completely take over the cigar. This is not a Man of War Ruination or a La Flor Dominicana chisel.
Yeah.
It retained a lot more subtlety and balance, and I absolutely loved this cigar. It'd be perfect for, after a big meal or with a nice snifter of añejo tequila, but I actually smoked this in the morning, and it wasn't too overpowering for an early morning smoke. Powerful, yes. Harsh or bitter, not in the least. I will be getting more of these for the humidor, and I suspect I will try to keep them on hand regularly. I brought one in for you.
Yeah, man. I was about to say that you love this so much that it overcome your tendency to want to hoard the cigar.
I know that's a pretty big deal.
Me one.
And
actually, you're incredibly generous about this. I'm just teasing.
And here's perhaps the coolest part. I would have been absolutely thrilled with the Nica Libre by Oliva if it was a $10 to $12 cigar. Would not have had a complaint about it in the world. But guess what, my friends? It's not a $10 to $12 cigar. It is, in fact, a $5 to $6 cigar. And it is amazing. Recommended? You better believe it. Price to quality, a very solid 7.
Price to quality index, for those of you just listening, is a scale of 1 to 10. But when you get a 5, you're getting exactly what you pay for.
Yeah.
So above a 5, this is punching way above its price
that's
class.
Exactly what this did. This cigar will be in my humidor
from now on.
Yeah, unless I've screwed up and run out of it.
I've been a fan of Nica Libre since way back. The first time I ever tried one, I think CI ran a special on them, and I picked up a bundle, and I was like, these are fantastic.
Speaking of CI, and you can buy this at CI, Cigars International. Speaking of them, in 2 weeks, you and I are going to be broadcasting live from the CI Cigars International Superstore in Conroe, Texas.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this. I've been a customer of theirs. They're not the only place that I buy online, but I've bought from them over the years for quite a while. And I've never been to a CI retail location, so I'm really stoked about going and buying a box of those.
I went into the one in Fort Worth.
Yeah,
and
what did you think of it?
Well, it's a pretty amazing store. They have a full
huge,
bar.
Right? Yeah,
they have a nice big lounge, a beautiful outdoor area. I mean, it's really set up nice. I haven't seen this one yet, so I can't wait to see it next.
Well, we'll be
2 weeks from now.
We'll be not broadcasting live, but recording the show live there 2 weeks from now, and we're excited to tell you guys all about it because I think of it as kind of like getting to go to a Costco for cigars.
Yeah, right.
It's just this huge warehouse.
Well, that was the nice
store.
thing is you get the circular in the mail.
Yeah.
You get the things, the emails, from showing them their sales and stuff. All that stuff they have 100% in the store as well. Like it's all there. So it's not like you show up at the store and you can't get those other deals.
Right. I still remember going to the JR Cigars flagship store in Manhattan and just being wowed by it. It's like 3-4 stories, and it's down in the bottom they've got all those JR alternatives, like it's a secret hideout down there and stuff. It's really quite cool.
This is a nice place where when you see those alternatives and stuff, you can go by and just pick 1 or 2 up instead of having to commit to the bundle, and that's a nice thing.
Which is a very nice thing. I'd love to be able to do that. So, all right, we're talking summer ales quite a bit today. Our show beer was the Summer Pils. We'll be giving you a list of exciting summer beers to try this year. Ian, we are now trying the Summer Ale, which is a sunny pale ale from a brewery that I like a lot, Brooklyn Brewery.
Brooklyn Brewery makes great beers in
general.
Really do.
Their Pilsners and IPAs
beer,
are great.
It's hoppy and bright on the flavor. It's got kind of I mean this in the best possible way. It tastes a little bit like Tang.
Like Tang, the breakfast drink?
The drink, the mix thing.
That the astronauts
It's got a little bit of that Tang kind of thing going on in the best possible way. I don't know that it tastes like Tang, but it kind of reminds me
That's sort of the citrusiness of it,
Yeah, it's got the citrusy thing.
But don't be put off by that, because it's not like there's nothing artificial about this taste.
No. I mean, like I said, in the absolute best possible way. It's kind of fun. Also, it's got a little bit of a malt thing going on.
It certainly does on the
wrapped
finish.
around that thing, and the finish is very malty, and I like that. And it keeps it a little sweet on the finish, and it keeps it a little cleaner on the finish.
I like it because it's very easy to drink. So to me, a summer beer should always be very crushable, very easy to drink. Otherwise, it doesn't really
I
qualify.
don't
as a
understand
summer
what you
beer.
mean by easy to drink. Like, all you have to do is grab the glass and bring it to your face and pour it in, right?
When I say easy to
Like-
drink, I should say easy to drink repeatedly.
Oh.
That's what I should say. I left a word out of that sentence. I appreciate you pointing that out. No, it's very crushable. It's the type of thing you can just kind of like have one and then go, you know what? I'll have another one of those.
Yeah,
That's not bad.
absolutely. This is really nice. Good job,
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
I think
This is coming in at 5%.
Yeah, so it's
Says
right at the
summer
line there.
ale is the perfect cold one for a hot one. Take our mellow pale ale anywhere you take it easy. It's tasting easygoing, floral, and refreshing.
I want to tell you about something. One of our favorite local beers, local breweries here in the greater Houston area. Ian and I have been on their premises drinking on a number of locations. Is Eighth Wonder, which is in Houston's east downtown area. I can see Eighth Wonder from my balcony.
Yes.
Yeah, which is kind of cool, by the way. Eighth Wonder was sold recently. They've been acquired by the largest cannabis operator in Texas, and BioCity Hemp Company. Which is interesting because cannabis is not yet legal in Texas, or at least not. I mean, cannabis is, but not with THC.
Right.
So, in any case, the brewery and tap room located in here in Houston just turned over their ownership to BioCity Hemp Company, and one of the first things that they announced was the creation of a cannabis seltzer.
I don't know what to say.
I don't either. I don't know. I don't even know what I think about that, because look.
Is it a seltzer that smells like old skunk?
Well, I was just about to say, cannabis, even if you enjoy the smell of it, it's not necessarily something you want to taste. Like I forget the name of the company now, but they've done the 420 beer that's like cannabis infused. Sweetwater. Thank you. I like Sweetwater's beers, but I don't care for the cannabis beer just because that isn't a.
It's not a flavor.
It's not a flavor that I want in a beverage. You know what I'm saying? Maybe this is just me. What are your thoughts?
So I understand 100%. Like, flavors that I don't want to. I'm not a fan of spicy flavors in a beverage. When I say spicy, I mean like with heat, like jalapeno, habanero, those kind of.
Totally agree.
And I love spicy food. Don't get me wrong.
I'm with you
You're
on
gonna
that
have a hard
too.
time making it too hot. That's not a brag. I'm just saying I really love spicy food. But not in my drink. Like, generally speaking, unless there's a caveat to this, a good Bloody Mary. It should be a little bit on the spicy side.
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
But
I'm just not sure if this cannabis into beverages trend.
yeah, there are flavors that I don't
Is a good one.
really dig so much in my beverages, and I don't know. I haven't tried it, so maybe it's amazing.
It's the first of its kind. The combined company houses cannabis, craft beer, and spirits all under one roof. And of course, Eighth Wonder is. I mean, they've been brewing amazing beers for a number of years, and they've got to be one of the more popular local breweries. I think here.
They
in
make
Houston.
great beers. Yeah,
Do you have a favorite? Did you like the
Tex.
Rocket Fuel?
Tex is one of my absolute go-tos.
And that
Tex
is just a really good Pilsner.
Yeah, that's a light Pilsner, and it's fantastic. That's an absolute go-to for me. Rocket Fuel's good. That's the Vietnamese.
It's Vietnamese
stout.
coffee stout.
It's
Yep.
beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's nothing else quite like it because the Vietnamese coffee is a different flavor than just a coffee stout, imperial coffee stout. So yeah, it's just a I don't know. It's interesting. The U.S. cannabis market is expected to grow more than $86 billion by 2030, and so that's part of why they're, I guess, getting into this.
Big market.
Maybe a cannabis seltzer would work better than a cannabis beer.
Maybe.
I'd be willing to try it.
I mean, beer has its own flavors. I don't. It's sometimes it's hard to see. Like maybe it's amazing, but like some flavors you just don't see go real well together. Like mayonnaise and scotch does not sound good to me.
Right. Even though I love both of those things.
I do, right? You know.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to mix drink with them.
What did you put in this new cocktail? Well, first I put ice into the glass, then I apply the mayonnaise, and then I put the scotch on top of the mayonnaise. Oh God, that's horrible.
Right.
That is almost Malort level bad.
That's a visceral reaction.
Yeah, it really is. I think everybody listening right now just went ugh. some sort of a visceral shudder there.
Involuntary.
Well, so I will tell you, it's going to be interesting to see. First of all, I think the seltzer thing has peaked. Don't you? Not that it's going away.
I
still see plenty of people with Trulies and White Claws, but
no, I don't think those core brands are going to go away. I think people are going to still make better versions of it. I think there's still a little run of what's going to be better versions of that coming out. But I think after that, I think the peak of it is pretty much hit. The craze is pretty much hit.
I think you're right. I saw some people drinking it. I was at a party this weekend. It was a 50th birthday party for one of my wife's friends, and they had it catered and had a bartender come in. So I saunter up to the bar and saw a lot of people drinking, White Claws. But I saunter up to the bar and I'm like, hey, what beers do you have? And they were like, the usual macro brews. And then the only thing that sounded good to me was they had Carbock's Crawford Bock. Now, I'm not a big fan of Crawford Bock. I really prefer Shiner Bock.
Yeah.
But the reason I wanted to bring this up is because those Crawford Bocks were ice cold, and they were better than I've given them credit for in the past. I'm telling you. I actually really, really enjoyed them.
You can get away with a lot when you're ice cold.
Yeah.
Now, Crawford Bock I don't think is a bad tasting beer. I just don't think it's as flavorful. Like, we tried it one day back-to-back with Shiner, and it just didn't have the flavor.
I agree. But I just wanted to give them props that this weekend they were my
as a matter of fact, I remember we did that as a blind taste test, and
we did.
We picked out Shiner immediately.
It's Smoking a Toast, and we will be right back after this message. Welcome back at Smoking and Toastin'. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. I was always a big, as far as sports go, I was always a big fan of Tom Brady. I was a fan of his when he was at the New England Patriots and when he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I followed him. But when it comes to basketball, I always kind of knew how the Brady haters felt, right? Because their team would be playing Tom Brady. You'd be doing really good. You'd be looking like you could probably win. And then he would just school you right at the end and steal the victory away from you. And that's how I've always felt as a basketball fan and as a Houston Rockets fan. I've always felt that way about Steph Curry, who's with the Golden State Warriors. He's the guy that Rockets would be in there, they'd be playing well, back in the days when Harden was here and they really had a shot. And we'd be good. We're like, we got this, and boom, Curry hits a three, and then boom, Curry hits a three, and you're like, well, crap, now we're down by 9. It's ridiculous. So I can't say that I'm a fan of Steph Curry, but I do respect his skills on the basketball court. And I don't know whether I respect this or not. We will have to taste it and try it. But Steph Curry recently entered the whiskey game and has launched Gentleman's Cut Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It was released globally just after its inaugural bottling at the Boone County Distilling Company. And so be on the lookout for this. I'll be willing to try it.
Does it have a price point? What's price point is it coming in at?
I can find this here. $79.99 for a bottle.
Oh, so he's coming in hot.
Yeah. So, but I will say, that either means he's coming in wildly overpriced, or he might have actually a quality
a really
product.
Good quality thing. Yeah.
So it remains to be seen, and I think I'm going to be on the lookout for it. I'll buy one, and we can try it here on the show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of those projects, man, some of those the celebrity projects are some of them are pretty good, some of them are pretty not.
By the way, speaking of celebrity projects and pretty not, Conor McGregor, we've made fun of his horrible whiskey a number of times here on the show. Did you hear what happened this last week?
No.
He was at some sports game. I forget whether it was a basketball game or something, where they were doing this skit where he would get into a fight with the team mascot, with the big creature in the big, stuffed costume.
Yeah.
And in this skit, he's supposed to get into a fight with him, and he hits the mascot, and the kid inside wound up having to go to the hospital because he got punched by Conor McGregor. I'm sorry, it's not funny, but it sure is funny.
Well, yeah. I hope he's okay, but that kid's going to have a great story for the rest of his life.
Yes, that's absolutely right. I got sent to the hospital by Conor McGregor, and it wasn't because I drank his whiskey. So that's a pretty good story. So there are other people who've probably been sent to the hospital.
I love that you said it wasn't because I drank his whiskey, because that's a real thing. Like, you drink his whiskey and he's standing there. You're going to be like, what the heck is wrong with you?
And then he's going to punch you. Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right.
I mean, we need to bring that on the show. It's not very expensive, and it's a good thing because
I guess we should, since we've talked about it this much.
I've tried it.
We've thrown
and
shade on it.
I will tell you, it's a little bit like looking at bad art. Like, you can't stop finding things wrong with it. It's like you just But from the time you bring it to your nose, like you're like, oh,
It's kind
that's
of
not good.
Kind of like watching an episode of Two Broke Girls. You just can't stop finding things wrong with it. You know what I mean?
It's a little bit like staring at a car wreck. You're like, oh, it's fascinating.
So I'm interested to see if we find anything wrong with this. Jolly Pumpkin Artisan Ales is one of those breweries.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with the nose on this. It's amazing.
This is a blonde ale. It is called Oro. It is a wild artisan. I'm sorry, golden ale.
It smells like a straight up Belgian ale. It's so fruity right off the nose.
It almost has even a little bit of that, like a cinnamony spice,
weedy,
like baker's spice.
There's a very weedy kind of smell to it as well. And I gotta tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of weedy beers, but man,
all right, I'm completely surprised by the flavor after the nose. I was not expecting the funk. I should have been because it's Jolly Pumpkin, and that's kind of what they do.
This is like George Clinton funk.
Yeah. Oh.
This is not like the funk that you find on your toothbrush after a few months.
This is the funk that has you saying we want the funk.
We want the funk.
Yeah,
yes,
got to have that funk. No, this is, but it is funkier than I was expecting. Would you agree with that?
It's got a little sour to it, which I wasn't expecting even remotely. Almost all the time. When you put a beer to your nose, you can smell if it has a little sour to it, and this has no sour in the nose at all. It's a spicy and peppery with gentle hot bouquet and the beguiling influence of wild yeast. This is oak-aged, can-conditioned, and it is outrageously yummy.
Fascinating beer.
It's got my mouth watering. Like you remember that old gator gum or stuff like that?
Totally.
Just activate your saliva glands.
Yeah, it totally does.
Put them on
apparently, my dog
overdrive.
chews that because she has just like got this whole slobber thing going.
Your dog's so cute.
But yeah, she's great. But no, this is really good. This is not what I expected, but it's really good.
Coming in at 8%, you're hitting it. You're coming in hot today too.
I should have expected it though, because Jolly Pumpkin doesn't do just normal golden ales. You know what I mean?
Man, if you want fruity with a bit of sour to it, this is I love this. I could drink this a lot.
And you can find this most places, I think. All right,
there's a spiciness to it on the finish, too.
I know.
It's really interesting.
I'm not even sure how to quite describe it. But all right, we'll take a break and we will return. We still have drinking news to come, and we still have to talk about summer beers and the best whiskeys of 2023 so far. So we will get to that, I promise. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. My name is Cruz. My partner in crime here is Ian Barry. Behind the wheels of steel, we have Terry Michaels. Thank you, Terry, for being here. And Adam in the Sky is the producer of the show. And thank you, Adam, for keeping us rolling every week. We do appreciate it. Next week's going to be a big challenge because it's our anniversary show. So it's going to be a big challenge to stay on time in the first few segments, and it's going to be a big challenge to stay upright in the final segment.
Dude, it's going to be like herding cats.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll never do it. Never.
So I have switched back to, as much as I loved the Golden Ale, and I will have more of that in a bit, but I've switched back to the Brooklyn Brewery Summer Ale, which was the first one.
It's quite good.
That we tasted. It's really good. It's an actual summer beer, and it got me to wondering how you would define exactly what a summer beer is. Is it a specific style, one that's been packaged and marketed as a summer ale, or is this a seasonal release that only comes out, to certain months, or is it something a little more nebulous that maybe you could define as, something you'd want to drink 4 to 6 up while you're getting sunburned on the beach?
For me, it's dark, it's malty, it's rich.
So you look at it differently. I think of summer ales as a little lighter. You can't go wrong with like a wheat beer or some sort this type of year. My first introduction to summer ales, when I lived in Boston, I was a huge fan of Harpoon IPA. It was my favorite beer at the time.
It's a great beer, yeah.
And Harpoon also would release a summer ale every year. And it was a little bit lighter. It was very easy drinkable, but it was loaded with flavor. And I don't know if they even do it anymore. I haven't seen it in years. But I loved that beer and would go to the Harpoon Fest and get all my little wooden tokens and go get the summer ale. It was like great fun. But that's kind of started me down the path of always looking for great summer beers. And I don't know if this really qualifies, but what was the name of that beer? It was a brewery that you don't even hear about anymore that used to have a great summer ale. I'll think of it. In any case, I'm enjoying this Brooklyn Brewery summer ale, and I thought I'd go with this list that came from a website called Inside Hook, where they tasted and ranked 28 of the best beers for summer. And I love these lists because I love.
Summer beers.
Don't do
makes
that.
me
Please
feel
don't do
fine.
that. You're killing me. You're killing me. Let me count down these summer beers, and you can weigh in if you've had one of these. The first one at number 28 is actually a beer that we've had. I know you have because we had it on the show a few weeks ago. It's 21st Amendment Brewing's Hell or High Watermelon.
Yeah, that was oddly good.
Yeah.
I think we were all surprised at how good we liked.
It is a wheat
how much
beer.
we like that.
It's one of those beers that it wasn't that great on the nose, but the taste, they nailed it. And I'd rather it be that way than the other way around. You know what I mean? But I sort of dug that. At number 27, they have Hofbrau Hefeweizen, and this is a
That's
German
easy for you to say.
Yeah, a German beer, Hofbrau Hefeweizen. I think I've seen this in the store. I don't think I've
tried that one actually.
Yeah, I don't think I ever have. Now you think that's easy for me to say? Watch me stumble through this name, Weinheinstephaner. Weinheinstephaner? You know this word? Weinheinstephaner Hefeweizen. It's their Hefeweizen.
Close enough.
It's their Hefeweizen. It comes in at number 26. I have also seen this.
I have had that,
but
one,
I have
actually.
not pronounced it. Do you like it?
It was fine. It was fine.
Okay. I'm not sure if I agree with the next one. No, at number 25, they have Pilsner or Cal.
Pilsner Urquell is it's not one of my favorites. I don't think it's,
I used to drink it every now and then
Totally
if it
a
was
bad
on the
beer.
menu at a restaurant.
but it's not one of my favorites.
But it's got a little an aftertaste that I struggle with a little bit. Yeah. Okay. At number 24, Genesee Ruby Red Kolsch.
Never heard of it.
I like Genesee's products, and this one is with grapefruit. Grapefruit, of course, can be a bit divisive as a flavor.
A grapefruit Kolsch.
At 23, it's the Von Trapp Kolsch style ale. I thought they were singers in The Sound of Music, but I never have tasted their ale. But it's on this list. Now, I've had number 22, and it's quite good. It's Allagash White. Have you had Allagash White?
Yes. So we're seeing a lot of these Hefeweizen and white ales and things like that. It's not my favorite style, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I used to avoid Pilsners and lagers for a lot of years until craft breweries started really making awesome ones as well. So.
Right.
But as far as the white ales go, it's not my favorite style.
Half Acre Daisy Cutter is at number 21. It's a pale ale. I'm not familiar with it, but I love the look of the can, and this is one that I want to put on my must-try list because I really like pale ales. Like, as much as I like IPAs, sometimes I like pale ales even more. It's just a slightly less, not always, but often a slightly less hoppy style, and it can be a nice change up. Tied at number 19, I have had this. I think you have too. It's Anderson Valley's Blood Orange Goza. This is the one with the super red sky on the can, and it's got a bear like drinking water. It's a illustrated bear drinking water. Is that a bear or a deer? It looks like a bear deer. I don't know what it is.
It's a bear deer.
It's a bear. Well,
we
live in Texas, so we're used to like animals that emerge with other animals, like the jackalope, for example.
The jackalope.
Yeah,
well,
so
that's a thing.
The bear deer could be a thing as well. Number 19, tied, Oscar Blues Dale's Pale Ale. Now, I don't think of this as much as a summer beer, but I do love the beer.
Dale's Pale Ale is fantastic, man.
The beer is, as one taster noted, a classic.
They
but
make
does
a
that mean
double
it's-
pale ale, and they also make a pale ale light. And guess what? They're all good.
And the ABV on this is sneaky high. It's 6.5%. Which is just like, it doesn't come across like that.
Sessionable, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Comes across very sessionable. Riesdorf Kolsch comes in at number 18 on the list. Creature Comforts Tritonia comes in at number 17.
Comforts,
I don't think we've had Tritonia. It's a Goza, but what I like about it is they've got an octopus tentacle kind of sneaking in there. I kind of like the packaging on this. Creature Comfort's a good brewery. I mean, they really are. I like everything I've tried from them, so I would definitely be willing to try this Goza. Grimmweiss at number 16.
I would
It
buy
is a
that for the
Hefeweizen.
name alone.
Yeah, and the fact that it's got dancing dinosaurs on it. Kind of
that's
looks
pretty
cool.
amazing.
You got to love the dancing dinosaurs on the can. Shiner Orale makes the list. It is their Orale. Thank you.
Orale.
Like Orale. Okay,
Orale.
gotcha. I just can't read Spanish.
That's an oddly good beer, by the way.
It's a Mexican lager. It's from Shiner, and it earned descriptors like refreshing, light, and tasty, but it's a fairly straightforward flavor profile.
It's pretty good.
It's really actually quite good. Revolution Sun Crusher in at 14. It's a wheat beer. I've had a beer from Revolution, but I don't think I've had the
I
Sun
haven't
Crusher.
had that one.
All right, I'm going to keep going on this list because I want to get to tasting this rum that you poured. At number 13, absolutely love this beer. Firestone Walker's 805 Cerveza.
Bells and whistles, everything. 805 is outstanding.
It's just really great. I remember when I was spending the week in Los Angeles a couple of years ago, you came in and we did a show from there.
Yeah.
And you were like hanging out at the house that we rented. That was all we drank was the 805. It was
so good.
It was so good. Yeah. It was. I went out to see a couple of shows, went to a couple of bars and stuff before you got there, and 805 was everywhere. It's like what everybody was drinking.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
It is a wonderful and beautiful thing. At number 12 on the list, Sweetwater's 420.
We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, it's their extra pale ale, and now I don't think this is the one though.
That's not the hemp one.
The
it's
hemp
just called
one,
420.
Yeah, so I think that's good.
It's hemp themed. But
I love the beer at number 10. It's Cigar City's Margarita Goza. I don't like a lot of margarita beers, I have to say. A lot of them I feel like just don't have the flavor. But this Margarita Goza from these guys is fantastic.
I don't remember. I remember trying it. I don't remember what I thought about that one.
We'll have to bring it.
But Cigar City, like their Maduro,
I'll bring it on.
so
oh, yeah.
good.
So I'll bring it on again as a mystery beer
High,
for you.
all those. So good.
Fantastic! I really like everything I've had from those guys. It's a tie at number 10. Threes Vliet. Vliet. I don't know how you say it. Vliet. It's a Pilsner. I haven't had it, but I want to try it. It's from New York's Threes Brewing. At number 9, Stone Buenaveza is on the list. Okay, I don't like this as much as I like Scout. For a Mexican lager, Scout, which is from our brewing, it's the Mexican beer from, I'm sorry, the name is...
from
I'm brain farting.
True Anomaly.
From True Anomaly.
Scout is unbelievably good.
I think it's better than this, but this makes it all the way to number 9 as a Mexican lager.
And I don't... You know what? I don't know about that. Try the Chocoveza. Chocoveza is really good.
It's not my favorite Stone either, for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely go for their IPAs or maybe some of their stouts. But at number 8, Great Lakes Brewing Company's Mexican Lager with Lime. I'll go for this because it has a really funky looking iguana on it. And Great Lakes Brewing is...
You start losing me when you put with lime, though.
You know, I totally get it, except it could be okay. I mean, you have to taste it to know.
I just, generally speaking, when I'm researching a beer, no limes or salt are ever harmed in the research of said beer.
But this has got lime in the beer, so there's that.
Yeah, well.
All right. At number 7, UFO Maine Blueberry. UFO, I got to do some research on this because UFO, I believe, is an offshoot of Harpoon. Because Harpoon's Hefeweizen was always called UFO.
Right.
And then they released these beers under the UFO thing. And I got one sitting in the beer fridge that I'm bringing in on a future show, and it is a triple berry from UFO. But they put the Maine Blueberry at number 7. Gaffelkosch is number 6 on the list. Is another beer that I have seen but have not tried. Have you seen it?
I don't know. I haven't seen that.
Three Floyd's Zombie Dust.
That's a good
pale
beer.
ale is at number 5 on the list. I haven't actually ever had that.
Yeah, Zombie Dust
really
is hard to pass up. That's a good beer.
Westbrook's Key Lime Pie Goza is at number 4 on the list. The highest performing Goza in their tasting. At number 3, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
That's a great beer.
It really is.
I mean, you can't.
It's just a standard.
Yeah.
But they picked their Summerfest beer, the refreshing summer
I've
lager,
never had their
at number
Summerfest.
2. We'll have to get some of that this summer. And they're number 1 on this very long list of summer beers.
Do I see Oberon?
Bell's Oberon.
Oberon.
Isn't that a fantastic
So
beer?
here's the thing. When it comes to wheat beers, I'm not a big. It's not my
I
style.
agree. It's not my favorite.
there
I've had
are-
some good ones, but it's not my favorite.
I can name 4. The top 3, though. The top 3 wheat beers out there that I know.
Mm-hmm. El Jefe?
El Jefe is one of them. That's made from No Label here in town. Then you have what's the one from Austin I'm thinking of? Give me a minute. Oberon is one of them, and then the other one from Austin is I'm blanking.
Is it 512? 512?
No, it's not 512. It's I'm totally blanking.
Think of
on
it. But Oberon is
yeah.
definitely on your top 3.
Yes, and then Celis is the other one.
Oh, Celis, yes.
Celis White.
Yes,
Yeah,
that is really good. And it's not really well known, Celis White. I can see why it did not make this list. But they say if you happen to come of age, drinking age that is, anywhere in the Midwest, you know it's not summer until you've tossed back a few Bell's Oberons. It screams summer to me, one taster wrote. So, very nice, very nice. I don't know if this will scream summer or not, but we're going to try a rum here to round out this segment. And Ian, you have poured this already for us.
We're being
this
fancy.
Is,
we're spelling it R-H-U-M.
Okay, R-H-U-M.
I don't know why.
I'll take it.
It says
This
it
is
on
El
the
Dorado 12. It is a rum or a rum.
They spell it three ways on the bottle: Ron, rum, and Rome.
So Ron means rum.
Yes.
That word means rum. I guess R-H-U-M may be the way it's spelled in some countries.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So there's three
So
spellings.
does it say which country this rum is from?
Product of Guyana.
Okay, so it's a Guyana rum. So I'm expecting it to be a little funky. Let's see.
Yeah,
doesn't
so
smell
if it's,
funky
if
on the
it's Guyana
nose.
rum, you're going to expect a little rubberiness and a little bit of a
Like what you get from a Jamaican
little
rum.
chemical-y kind of thing going on. But I don't know. I haven't tried it. It doesn't smell like it.
I do not get that on the palate. I get caramel and sugar cane
fruity.
and fruitiness on the palate.
Banana.
Oh, yes, banana's in there for sure.
And-
this is actually quite good.
Oh, my goodness. The Demerara region has established a reputation over the last 300 years for producing the best rum in the world. This rum has been laid down in oak barrels for at least 12 years, producing a rich, diverse spirit. The profile is round, mellow, and full-bodied with rich flavors of fruit and spice.
Well, I get it, and I like it, and you're so right about the banana, and you're so right about
maple syrup.
Maple syrup, absolutely. I want to pour this on pancakes, and maybe I will do that during the break. We will be right back.
Rum, it's not just for breakfast anymore.
Smoking and toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And I was about to open the segment by asking Ian to pour me a little more of this El Dorado 12-year rum, but you did it anyway before I even asked. You got me covered. Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I wanted to talk to you as I sip a little more of this and daydream about how wonderfully this would mesh with a fine cigar, and how good of a pairing that this would be. While I do that, I want to talk to you about some cigars and talk to you about an actor. He's one of those actors that if you saw his face, you would oh, that guy. But I don't know if you know him by name or not. Do you know who Chaz Palminteri is? Mm-mm. All right, so he wrote the screenplay and starred in A Bronx Tale as mafia boss Sonny. And he's been in a ton of other things, too. He's one of those guys that you're like, oh, yeah, that guy. He was in that other movie with the guy. Right. And Kevin Bacon. But anyway, he is going to be at this year's PCA trade show in Las Vegas presenting his brand new brand of cigars, which are called A Bronx Tale. By Chaz Palminteri. That's what they're called. That's the movie he's most famous for.
How long do you think his brainstorming session for that name was?
I don't know. But Chaz Palminteri's A Bronx Tale will come in a single size. It'll be a box press Toro measuring 6x54, and it is called the Calogero in honor of Palminteri's grandfather. Those who've seen the movie may remember this was also the name of the main character in the film. So it is a collaboration between Paul DeSilva, the Bronx-based La Casa Grande Tobacco Company, and Dean Parsons of Epic Cigars and Xander Gregg Imports. It's it's going to be one of those things. It's going to be limited to 2,500 boxes to start with, and has a suggested retail price of $20 each. So it's going to need to be pretty good, right?
That's a super premium.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So it's going to need to be good.
So when cigars hit $20, I just have to match it against anything like anything that's $20 gets matched against the Amaforte from Placentia.
Mm-hmm. And for me, the cigar I talked to you about today, the Nica Libre by Oliva, would I rather have this one cigar or four of those?
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to smoke them all at one time, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I can afford four of them for the same thing, or three or four at the very least. Like, that makes it hard for me to plunk down $20 on a cigar, unless I know it's going to be really special.
There's a valid time and place for a special occasion cigar,
Speaking of special occasion cigars, if you're a regular listener, you may remember how Ian and I both went nuts over the last special edition Oliva Serie V Melanio. The 135?
The 135.
Yeah.
That's not the Melanio, it's just the 135.
Yeah, the 135. Well, guess what, my friends? There's a new one coming. Oliva Cigars is continuing their annual tradition by creating a shape known as the Figurino. The cigars are perfectos, tapered at both ends, measuring 5.5 inches long, 54 ring gauge at its plumpest point in the middle of the cigar. The shape was created by Oliva owner Frederick. I'm going to try to pronounce his last name, but unlike traditional Milanios, it's in the round rather than box pressed, because Milanios are usually box pressed. Like other Milanios, the cigars are made from a blend of Nicaraguan tobaccos with Ecuadorian wrappers. Production will be limited to 14,500 boxes, each containing 10 cigars. These cigars will also retail for about $20 each.
Man, those 135s were so
The 135s were fantastic.
That they started making them regular production now. And
if this is half as
so
good, it's going to be a thing. So
something about that shape.
Also, it's been a decade since the release of the Davidoff Nicaragua brand, and Davidoff of Geneva is celebrating that milestone with a limited edition cigar that will include some barrel-aged tobacco. Retailers can expect the new smoke to start shipping on July the 6th. It is being made in only one size, 6 inches long by 56 ring gauge, and they are referring to it as the Grand Toro. Only 3,300 boxes allocated for the U.S. market, and each one retails for $425 and is individually numbered. And because I'm not good at math, I asked my wife to do it for me, and she tells me it means the price comes out to $35 per cigar. So we're only telling you about pricey cigars on today's Cigars to Watch For.
$35 per cigar.
But go back and listen to the review of the $5 to $6 Nica Libre by Oliva if you feel like we're pricing you out here. All right, we'll be right back. We got drinking news on the way, and we got more to talk about, including, my friend,
this rum is good.
the best whiskeys so far of 2023. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Our program is craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. These are all things we're pretty excited about, and for good reason.
You know,
I was talking to the guys that are syndicating our show, that do the calling on radio stations and stuff. We had a little Zoom call last week, and we were just talking. They were they asked the questions people always ask, like, how'd you get started doing the show? How long have you been doing it? We're just filling them in, giving them some background information. And it was interesting because it was a Zoom call. I could see their reactions, and as I sort of explained to them, here's what we do on every show. As the explanation went on, the expression on their face became more and more envious. Like, seriously, you just taste booze and craft beers and that's your show? I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Have I thanked you for letting me be your producer?
Yeah,
yet?
see, exactly. we've had.
I don't come across a lot of Mondays where I wake up and go, man, I don't want to go to work today.
Yeah, we've had to run a few producers off, but so far we've not been able to run Terry off. He's he's permanently affixed to the to the production chair. So, one of the reasons that some people like this show, and don't ask me why, is its most popular segment, a little thing we like to call Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
Yeah, I never know what voice you're going to use on there.
Yeah. That's part of the fun of it, isn't it?
I love that.
Drinking News, for those of you who might be new to this segment, is the part of the show where we share a story that is sometimes, but not always, about drinking, but is always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. Cue opening sound effects. We lost a little of the cap there. But the opening was pretty spectacular. Today's story is definitely about drinking. And while there are many reasons that people drink, in fact, Alanis Morissette has a really good song where the first lyric line says, "These are the reasons I drink." It's a great song. You should go check it out. It's on our latest album. Anyway, it's clear that some reasons...
Isn't it ironic?
It's clear that some reasons are more common than others. Certainly some people drink to get drunk. Others drink to loosen up. Some drink because they enjoy the flavors, like I do of this rum. Some may drink for all those reasons and more. And many people drink, and I put myself into this category, because of the social element of the whole thing. I mean, it's fun to go out and have drink with friends, right? In fact, if I were to be honest about it, I probably have some friends that aren't really all that fun unless they are drinking. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you've got those friends, right? And it's like, oh, he's going to be there. Are we drinking? Yeah, it'll be fine. Okay. So there's that.
Also, sometimes you have to time the drinking, too. Like, you don't want to show up after everyone else has been drinking a lot. Because if you're not, like, simul drinking, so to speak.
Yeah, simultaneously.
Sometimes, like, if you're late to the party, you're like, these people are so annoying.
Yeah, right. And if you're too early, you're the annoying one. So
well, I'm okay with that.
if you drink if you drink a little bit too much, as does happen on occasion, it is good to be with friends if you do, right? They might be able to stop you from making a total ass out of yourself. They can help convince you that you might want to, switch to water or coffee for a while. They can drive you home. That's a big one, right?
Yeah.
That's a big one. And if you should happen to go missing, they can look for you.
I'm not saying that hasn't happened.
That's what happened to a Turkish man.
Turkish man.
Oh, I like it. A Turkish man.
I know, I just kept going with that, right? I couldn't stop. Like,
I had no idea that was going to go on for that long, but I loved it. A Turkish man recently got himself into some trouble, but he was fortunate enough to have friends who jumped in to help him out. 50-year-old Beyhan Mutlu was out drinking with friends when he ended up getting a little too intoxicated and left his friends to go and relieve himself. When he didn't come back after a reasonable period of time, the friends started looking for him, and when they didn't find him right away, they decided they needed to organize a search party and track him down. They rounded up concerned community members, the local authorities, and a group of volunteers to help find Mr. Mutlu, and they began combing the immediate area to try to locate him. The Turkish man, in his drunken days, had apparently wandered into a nearby forest, and when he noticed a large group of people searching near where he was, he asked them what was going on, and they told him. Ever so helpful, and of course not at all sober, Mr. Mutlu promptly joined the search party and began combing the woods in search of the missing person. Yes, that's right. The drunken Turkish man joined his own search party. He and the group searched for several hours before Mutlu noticed that the name some of the volunteers were calling out sounded rather familiar to him. When he finally asked, "Wait, who are we looking for?" things began to come together in his mind. "Oh, that's me," the Turkish man said to the search party. "I'm here." It does sound like a potential plot line for a really bad sitcom like Two Broke Girls or something. But in this case, it turns out it was closer to a reality show. And I would just like to point out that I bagged on Two Broke Girls twice in this program. So there you go. It's unclear exactly why his friends in the search party didn't realize that he joined them. But after he revealed his presence, Turkish authorities gave him a ride home, and he was not charged with any crimes. Which leaves us with a few...
I have been drunk and revealed my presence before.
Yeah, I bet you have. I think I heard about that party, by the way. Which leaves us with a few specific observations. If you're going to join a search party, it might be a good idea to know exactly who it is that you're looking for. If you go out drinking with friends, it's important that they are good enough friends that they would organize a search party if you went missing. But it also might be important that the friends you're drinking with are not so drunk themselves that they fail to recognize you for 2 hours after you've joined in to help them search. And last but not least, if you're out with friends and you need to pee, maybe try the bar's restroom instead of deciding to relieve yourself in a nearby forest. I mean, I know some bar restrooms can be a little gross. I get it. But it's still better than standing in the woods and encountering a bear or a wild boar or something while you're taking a leak. And yes, they do have wild boars in Turkey. And while we're at it, turkeys...
Wild boars, by the way, are not very friendly.
Yeah, no, they're not. And while we're at it, by the way, turkeys, the birds, are not actually native to Turkey. There are some being raised there on farms, but they do not live in the wild, and they've been imported from other countries. Why is the country called Turkey? It's a rather long story, and perhaps one day when we've had substantially more to drink than we have today, we'll get into it. But for now, reporting live from just outside Istanbul, where I'm part of a search party looking for some guy named Clyde Farquhar. My professional name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. I was savoring the flavor of this rum in my mouth, and I realized I had to swallow it real quick to say cheers, y'all.
This rum is so good.
It really is. I'm really quite. And I want to point out, by the way, this was under $40. I want to say it was like $36, $37.
And for those of you
and they
non-Spanish speaking, that's Spanish for the Dorado.
The Dorado, yes, and I appreciate you clearing that up. So that is a really good rum. It is just very easy to drink. Very, very,
I'm down with it.
Very much. Okay, so speaking of being down with things, I know, Ian, that you have tried the rich and robust Tarnation. Seriously strong
ale. Do you like
ale.
amber ales?
I do like amber ales.
This, to me, and I don't know, I haven't read this actually.
It is called
You'd be
an
surprised how many
unreasonably...
of these bottles I've been through, but
I can tell you that it says, according to the Surgeon General, people who are pregnant should not drink alcohol.
it does actually say that. It's like, well, you're not even looking at the bottle. That's
I know.
crazy.
Yeah,
So it says, easy partner, this ain't no run-of-the-mill ale you're holding in your hand. Matter of fact, this here bottle just so happens to contain the most rootin' tootin' strong ale this side of the Guadalupe. It's rich. I'm sorry, if you're from Austin, it's the Guadalupe.
Yeah.
It's rich, it's malty, it's doggone tasty if we do say so ourselves. Yep, this one's so good you'd be asking yourself, what in tarnation? So, if you like amber ales, this tastes like an amber ale that's just been basically turned to 11.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it tastes like. They call it an unreasonably strong ale, but I feel like this comes from amber ale heritage.
It does, because I'm just taking my first sip of this. It does drink a lot like an amber ale on steroids.
Yeah, because it's not Bach-like. It's not that kind of dark chocolatey
No,
thing.
it doesn't
it's got
have
more
that
of a heavy thing,
maltiness.
and I love it. It's malty. It's delicious. It's got a little kind of a burnt caramel thing going on.
It strikes me that back when, and we're very familiar with St. Arnold because we're based here in Houston, our hometown. But St. Arnold is the oldest craft brewery in Texas.
Yeah.
And for many years, in the early days of the craft beer boom,
in the before time.
St. Arnold would do seasonal releases. Like every few months, they would do either a Bishop's Barrel or a Divine Series release.
The Divine Reserve.
But when they did the Divine Reserve release, again, back in the day, things have changed a lot. But back in the day, you would drive by Specs or another beer store, and the line waiting for the store to open at 10 in the morning would be around the building, and were people who were there,
would, get there
waiting,
and,
like
stay
you do
the
for
night
concert
kind of
tickets,
thing.
or
Yeah.
like Taylor Swift fans do, or whatever. Although now it's all internet based, but people would line up and wait overnight sometimes to be there in time to get one of the limited
I
edition
remember
Divine
actually
releases.
camping outside for concert tickets.
And so, what I was going to say about this Tarnation is that this tastes to me like the type of beer they would have released in that series.
Yeah, so they stopped that series. They don't do either one of those anymore.
I just think times have changed.
But-
There's so much more out there.
No, I get it, and they're doing so many interesting ales anyway. And every once in a while, just toss something completely different out there, and this is one of those things.
I think this is wonderful.
It's delicious.
To me, this is one of those things that
This to me, I want this to be in a can though, because then I could take it on the river. Like it's a sessionable 9%. I could go float down the river with this.
Yeah, a sessionable 9%.
For those of you who don't live
this
in-
guy, I totally love to do the show with you. You say things like it's a sessionable 9%.
So for those of you who don't live in Texas, we have the Comal and the Guadalupe River, and this is all Texas Hill Country area, and you can go sit your butt in an inner tube and float around for 4 to 6 hours, baking in the sun, which doesn't sound like fun, but when you add beer and a cigar to that, it's actually pretty entertaining.
Well, you've talked about the fact that you love to smoke those big old grande cigars.
Yeah, the 7x70, the 8x80, the JFRs are the bomb, the big payback. Yeah, man, there's nothing like getting in the river and then going a 3-hour float and still smoking your cigar as you're walking back to your campsite.
And then you go back to your campsite and drink whiskey.
That's right.
Speaking of whiskey, Tasting Table which is a very interesting website, tastingtable.com. This is a website that has done a list of what they claim are the best whiskeys of 2023, the best bourbons 2023 so far. So let me run through this list for you. On the first one on the list is Barrel.
I see that picture.
Barrel Private Releases Whiskey DJ X2. I've not had the DJ
now,
X2.
barrel, every single barrel is different, so you have to go actually look at the number in the bottle to get the right one.
And it's all very
and
interesting.
the color.
Next on the list is Bowmore Masters Selection, 22 years old. Have
Bowmore's,
you,
no,
have
I haven't
you
tried
seen
that.
or tried that?
Does that have a price on it? I bet it's expensive.
Let me see if it says $450.
That's all. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Breckenridge Sexy Motor Oil Series 3. It's a delicious game of table tennis, they say, between two unrelated but friendly companies, Breckenridge Brewery and Breckenridge Distillery, who use bourbon barrels to make their Imperial Stout.
Nice.
So, yeah, this looks very interesting. Chattanooga Silver Oak Cabernet Cask Finished. I have not had or seen that whiskey. I don't know if you have.
I haven't.
Glenallachie 2012 Vintage Cuvée Wine Cask Finish, which looks pretty. They say it looks like bottled amber, but it's not nearly old enough to clone dinosaurs from. Still, it's a 9-year age statement and a decent spot, they say, for a Scotch.
That picture is beautiful.
Glendronach Cask Strength Batch 11. Yeah, they have that one on
I
their
had
list.
a 97 Glendronach that I don't know if you remember, but I brought it on the show, and we just
Yes. It was wonderful. I
so
remember it being wonderful. Glengoyne 15 years is on the list. I have not had Glengoyne at all. Heaven Hill Heritage Collection 20-year-old Kentucky straight corn whiskey
Heaven
makes
Hill's
the
easy.
list.
That's all good.
It's tough to go against Heaven Hill, and this is basically one where they said, what would happen if we took our regular cask strength and aged it 5 times longer?
Right.
And that's where that one came from. High West Bourye 2023, Bourye, Bourye, which sounds like something a Marine would say. And Jack Daniel's 12-year-old Tennessee whiskey. Thoughts?
Jack Daniel's, everything that's not the old number 7 is pretty darn good.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know. I haven't tried it, but everything.
It's a much higher proof than old number 7.
Everything
for sure.
that isn't the old number 7 is pretty dang good.
Hard for me to argue with this next one. Knob Creek 7-year-old Kentucky Straight Rye.
Any Knob Creek is
Got a bottle of that at home, and it's fabulous. Stranahan's 2023 Diamond Peak Batch Number 2 Extra Añejo Cask.
Stranahan's out of Colorado, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe that is true. And Whistle Pig Beholden, a 21-year, makes the
It's real hard
list.
to go wrong with Whistle Pig.
Yep. So there's your list of the best whiskeys released so far in 2023, according
Right
to
now.
Tasting Table. How do I get a job at Tasting Table?
You're right.
Let me see if I can find a application online here while we take a break. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. That's what we're all about. It's almost as if my Apple Watch knows that I'm just sitting here drinking because it's telling me, time to stand, time to stand. It's like, come on, dude. Don't just sit there.
Me and you
drink.
are on totally
Stand.
different pages. I was
Yeah.
listening to that song, and I was thinking, wow, this makes me want to bite my bottom lip a little bit and then pump my fists a little bit.
Oh
while sit
yeah,
in the chair.
I like that. I like when you're doing that. I want to reflect on this show as it comes to a close. But first, Ian, I've got another item because I don't. When I give you suggestions for my gift list for this Christmas,
I feel like this needs some musical padding behind it. Go
When I
ahead.
give you these suggestions, I don't want you to feel like you've got to do that one thing. I want to give you multiple suggestions, and then you can surprise me. Right? That way, it's not like I know what you're going to get me for the holidays, right? So I'd really like a bourbon, and a particular bourbon. It's one that's going to be launched into outer space, launched into orbit, and aged in outer space for a full year. And you could just go ahead and buy it for me, and then when it comes back
Can we
to
pre-order
Earth,
those?
yeah, when it comes back to Earth, then I can I can fulfill the order.
Well, hold on. I don't understand. Are they sending a barrel into outer space? Or are they sending a bottle into outer space?
Well,
What are they doing?
I'm not completely sure, but you've heard of bourbon aged on ships, right? Or in rail cars, or pummeled with heavy metal music. But a new craft distillery or one craft
Pummeled
distillery,
with heavy metal
yeah, well,
music.
that's what it says in the
That's
article in the
great.
Robb Report. But this particular distillery is launching its whiskey into orbit for a year of outer space aging, no one will get to try this bourbon for at least 4 years. So it remains to be seen if it's worth the price tag.
It's being lovingly exposed to a sub-zero vacuous
and solar rays and stuff.
solar UV exposure, everything, right?
So, anyway, it's only $75. It's only $75,000. So,
Well,
I'm just saying, add it to the list, and surely you'll find something on the list that'll be an appropriate gift. That's all I'm saying. And I'm willing to wait. The 4 years. It's okay. But you send me like a little card that says
this will be happening in 4 years.
I have reserved this for you. You'll have it in 4 years.
On the back of that card,
saying.
it has a contract saying if you expire before then, then I get the whiskey, right?
Okay, fair enough. And then but see, I don't like that. Then it's like the devious husband who's taken out a life insurance policy on his wife, and she has to constantly look over her shoulder, right? You've seen that Hallmark movie.
You mean the devious co-host who takes out
That's right, an insurance policy on the whiskey that he bought for his
host,
his other host.
I've never seen that movie. What are you talking about?
I'm pretty sure.
Hey.
Pretty sure it's on the Hallmark Channel, and I'm pretty sure Eddie Van Halen's ex-wife is on it, Valerie Bertinelli.
That's what I'm saying. For me again.
What?
I'm sorry.
Oh. By the way, I watched that movie not too long ago. Clint Eastwood's awesome in that, by the way. He really is. Speaking of awesome, boy, have we had some good stuff on this show today. And I'm
trying to inhale it right now.
We started out with the mystery beer, the mystery beverage that you brought, which was actually quite good.
The Black Quad from Real Ale is really good.
Really good. And then we went into the summer ale, the Sunny Pale Ale from Brooklyn Brewery. We had this very interesting Jolly Pumpkin Artisan Ale, Golden Ale. And then we went to the rum, and I'm still enjoying this rum because it's so good.
This rum makes me beg a few questions, such as, what would you do with a drunken sailor?
And how much wood would a woodchuck chuck? If a woodchuck could chuck wood.
There's that.
I think we asked that question on last week's Drinking News, and did not really come up with a successful answer, as far as I can tell. But I will tell you this. Drunken Sailor or no, that's a damn fine rum. It's really
good rum.
Yeah, it really
Tarnation's
is.
good.
Yeah.
The Brooklyn
Everything
Summer
was
Ale.
Good. Even our show beers.
It was pretty darn good. Jolly Pumpkin Artisan Ale. A little sour, but also quite good.
Yeah, I mean, everything. This was just one of those shows where everything kind of worked, at least the beverages. I don't know how well Drinking News worked, but the beverages worked.
Drunken News? That's a new segment.
This has been a high ABV day, okay?
Yes, it has.
I can be excused for manipulating my consonants slightly.
You can say manipulating consonants, but not drunken news.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
It totally works, dude. It totally works. I want to say thanks to everybody for supporting the show. We do have a very big week coming up next week with show number 333. And if you think that I'm a little buzzed now, you just wait until next week's show. It's going to be out of hand. It's going to be absolutely out of hand. Thank you, everyone, for being here and being a part of the program. We appreciate it. Thanks to Adam in the Cloud. Thanks to Mary. Thanks to everybody who is a part of Smoking and Toasting. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you. Terry Michaels on the Wheels of Steel. Have a great week, my friends, and we will be back to visit with you once again next week. And next week's show, remember, it's a special one. We're going to have so many different guests. We're going to have 6 different microphones next week. You and I will each have a mic, and then we'll have 4 to share among all of the other guests. So, it's going to be completely out of hand. Have a great week, my friends. We love you and appreciate you getting us to our big anniversary show next week. It's Smoking and Toasting, and cheers, y'all.
So good to you. Whatever happens, don't leave it so soon. It's so